Okay, welcome everyone. Can you hear me well? Excellent, thank you. Well, welcome. I'm Anastasios. I help organizations advance their environmental agenda, regenerate the environment, reduce costs, and increase customer loyalty. We live in an unprecedented time where we are called to redefine our society for the benefit of our future. And so I am here because I believe that this is the future. So my question to you is this: how can I help you? How can I help your business, your board, your project become successful so that we can improve the sustainability and the future of our society? We only have one planet. So does your business understand the opportunities that could await it from the circular economy and the green economy? The good news is that on this webinar, we get to talk with exciting and forward-thinking individuals, startups and businesses looking to advance our environmental agenda. It is an exciting space. It is a window to society and business. So grab your notes, grab your ideas, and hopefully you can take some of that stuff back to your business. So I'm very excited about today's speakers. And before we get onto the webinar, I had a couple of quick notes for you. The first one is that this is a recorded webinar. So keep your microphones muted so that we can have a smooth event. Later on the webinar, I'm gonna, once we finish with all the presentations, we can unmute the microphones, stop the recording, and have a networking event. And the second thing is that we have a nice chat function. So feel free to use that for any thoughts and ideas, to introduce yourselves, to ask any questions. It's a very useful function. The one thing about it is that obviously after the event, the chat tends to disappear from your reach. So I have created a Slack channel so that we can translate, put all the comments from the chat into the Slack channel so that you can have this and you can continue the discussion over there. The link for the Slack channel is on the chat on the very, very top. So grab that, copy it, paste it somewhere safe. Don't try to access it now because you're gonna miss the webinar, but keep it somewhere safe and come back afterwards and join us in. And then I'll put all the notes in there. Right, so with that in mind, I want to say hello to our first speaker, Dan. Dan, hello. Can you?
Hello.
Aha, there we go. Well, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. It's great to have you on board.
It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
My absolute pleasure. And if I could say a couple of things, obviously, you're going to tell us all about the work that you're doing with Measurable.Energy. And I think this is something very exciting because you very cleverly monitor and manage the energy power consumption across power sockets. Really, if someone was to think about how should one go about doing it, you probably, I think you're going to know some idea over there. So really excited to kind of to see more about that. But the other thing I want to say is that you're a little bit of a serial entrepreneur. This is your second business that you've created. And it's all around the scene of creating and measuring methods and technologies to improve environmental sustainability. And your first company, I think, was pretty successful. And you got a few prestigious customers like Google and Microsoft and the United Nations. So really impressive. So I think that tells us a couple of things. The first one is that you clearly have a unique vision, a powerful vision about the things that could be, that people tend to stop and listen. And we're looking forward to have you share a little bit of that with us today. And the second thing is that you have the ability and the know-how to get things done. Clearly you've been there and you're making it again happen this time around. So thank you very much for joining us. Really looking forward to hearing more about all the good things that you're working on.
Cool. Thanks for a very lovely introduction. That's probably the nicest one I've ever had. So I'll still invite you back. I will just share my screen now and share some slides. So bear with me. Okay. Can you see my screen with a slide on it?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, today I'd like to give you a kind of a very quick overview of Measurable.Energy, which is a new startup I co-founded with Josh Eady, who's our CTO. A couple of years ago we started, and as Anastasia said, it's basically here to improve environmental sustainability by increasing the level of energy monitoring that takes place within buildings. So we've created what's called the Measurable.Energy platform, and we shorten Measurable.Energy to ME, so I'll refer to it as that as we go through. It's quite a big mouthful of words to say that all the time. So we've created the ME platform, and essentially it's an incredibly simple idea in that the only thing that needs to happen within a building to enable reductions, automatic reductions of energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions, is for you to replace current power sockets with the power sockets that we've created. And they're a kind of smart or an IoT power socket. And our machine learning basically does the rest for you. So it's not a very involved system. It can be if you wish to delve into the data, but we've designed it so it's really simple, really quick and easy to cut wasted energy from commercial buildings to begin with. Of course, there's wasted energy all over the place, industrial, residential. So it's designed for life as we go forward. But our first focus is commercial buildings. And I wanted to kind of take you into the world of why this is a thing, because I don't think it's a very well known or very well understood area. So I'll start off with a beautiful pie chart. And this pie chart represents the average power consumption of a commercial office building in the UK today. And there are 400,000 office buildings in the UK today. And this is a kind of a very standard view of any office building in any part of the world. Where you've got perhaps air conditioning machines, this might be slightly different. But you know, here in the UK, where we don't have too much need for air conditioning, it's pretty much like this. So about less than 1/3 of total energy is taken up by lighting systems. About just over 1/3 is taken up by HVAC, which is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. And then the rest is pretty much something called small power. And small power is sometimes known as plug load power as well. Essentially, it's just anything that either comes through a power socket or it's other things that are wired directly into the building through things called fuse spurs. Could be large building items like water heaters, coffee machines, vending machines. And basically this area of small power is what we focus on with our ME platform. So as I've mentioned, it's anything you can ever think of, from a laptop all the way up to a vending machine to a fancy hot water tap that's plugged in and is using power all the time. Even the electric desks that are becoming common now, you know, they all sit there using power, obviously when you use them, but also in standby. And sometimes they're accidentally left on. So there's an incredible amount of this small power. Small power as a term, as you can imagine, used to be small. These days, it's actually becoming one of the largest elements of power consumption in the office. And bizarrely enough, there isn't one building management system, either software or mechanical based, that in any useful way is able to monitor or control small power. And that's quite shocking when you think of all the lighting systems that are out there, all of the heating and air conditioning systems. There's this big element of power consumption and energy consumption that's just not really known anything about. There have been some academic studies, some very few commercial studies to try and highlight how much small power is of total, but also how much wasted energy occurs within small power. And obviously wasted energy is directly correlated with wasted greenhouse gas emissions or needless greenhouse gas emissions, and also wasted energy costs. And those studies have basically shown that between 25 and 50% of that small power element could be pure waste. And that's, you know, it's very obvious that that shouldn't be taking place in the world that we live in today, with us striving for net zero compliance and buildings as we go forward. So that's what we're focusing on as a company. And just to reinforce it, because this sometimes can be quite a drastic statistic to people, sometimes people don't quite believe it's the case. Well, we've actually, to prove the point, measured 3 devices, just 3 in an active office that we're piloting with at the moment. And those 3 devices were an electric heater, the ones that people often tuck underneath their desks, perhaps when they're not allowed to. The other one was a laptop docking system where you plug everything into. And the third one was a large printer plotter that was a sort of standby backup device in an office. And so you can see on the screen there how much energy, how much power they used. And these things were actually left on at night time. Half was that they forgot they were on, in the case of the heater. The laptop's power management system, for some reason, wasn't kicking in because of some of the devices that were plugged into the dock. And actually, the printer was in standby mode at 127 watts, which is quite high for a device. And so just those 3 devices during a 6-hour period of nighttime, when there was no one in the office, not doing anything, those 3 devices cost just over £1 in terms of energy costs and released 2 kilograms of CO2. That obviously is very small with those 3 devices, but scale that up across every single building in the UK, even across the world, those figures become really, 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 really big. And this is a very common occurrence of wasted energy. So that brings us to where we have created our ME platform, and this is what it's designed to tackle to reduce and eliminate this wasted energy. So a little bit about our ME platform. There are 4 main elements. It's both the hardware and software, as you might know. So on the hardware side, we have our ME power socket, and that's a very standard like-for-like replacement for any normal power socket. You may be able to see on the screen behind me, we've got them up and running and they're in test at the moment. They fit into any standard UK back box or floor box. They come in all sorts of formats, power strips, singles. And essentially they're exactly the same. They provide power, of course, but they have key elements of measuring, monitoring. We measure and monitor our power statistics 3 times every second at 3 hertz. So that's incredibly quick. And the reason we do that is to inform our machine learning. And our machine learning sits on what we call the ME Hub, which is our main piece of software. The ME Hub basically controls fleets of our ME power sockets. It collects the data from them. It does something useful with them. You can obviously investigate that as a user if you wish, but our machine learning looks at the data coming in. And with more and more data that we get, and with our quite clever machine learning algorithms, we're able to actually identify, 1, what device it was, and then 2, is it in a state of wasted energy? And if, of course, it is in a state of wasted energy and the situation allows for it to happen, we will turn the power off to the device. Very simple, and it can save an incredible amount of energy and greenhouse gas emissions at the same time. On the hardware side, we also have something called Tap for Power, and that's it's very similar to a Google Pay or an Apple Pay approach, where you can come up to a power socket. If it has Tap for Power enabled, you plug something in, it wouldn't give you any power. You tap your phone, or alternatively, you log in through a website, and the power socket will provide power, either for monetization purposes, or it could be for registration purposes. It can also be to allocate certain amounts of either energy or greenhouse gas emissions if you want to kind of make sure you don't use too much energy as you go forward. So that's the ME platform as it stands, and I won't go into any more detail about it. If you'd like to know more, of course, please get in touch. Have a look at our website. I'd be very happy to go through more detail. But really what I'd like to do at this time is try and interact with you guys a bit, because at the moment I'm sure as everyone else has been really overloaded with online workshops and seminars that are really good, but I find that getting involved is often more interesting and more useful to everyone. So there are 4 things that you could do to potentially help us or question us or get involved with us. So in a moment, we've got a very quick survey and poll series of questions to go through. So get ready to, either through your phone or through your computer, log into a website, and you can see that in the big light blue box there. It's pollev.com/m.e or m.dot. That will give you the questions in a moment. But the other 3 ways you can help us going forward after this call, of course, is in 3 ways. So Measurable.Energy is very early stage startup. We received some grant funding last year to take our startup and start pilots. So we have created our hardware, and it's all CE marked and meets our British standard certification. We've got our software running, and we're piloting right now. What we're looking for generally is scale up investment throughout the next year to take us to a point where we can launch our product, both in the UK and then eventually in the EU and the US too. So we're looking for both investor partners and investors to help us. The second area is through partnership opportunities. We, as a company, don't want to take over building management systems. We don't want to be yet another building management system, which is not useful. We want to integrate as much as possible, and that's really a key point for any sustainability oriented company, I think, at the moment, is to be as interoperable as possible. Everyone's got great data, but we have to be able to share it between each other and do useful things with it. And finally, if you are operating a commercial building or you're in a facilities management team, then please get in touch, because we'd love to set up launch customers, launch pilots as well, and help us to become the first to go down that journey to get rid of that quite significant wasted energy amount. So, Anastasios, if it's all right with you, I'll go through my my survey questions right now, and we can have some interaction going on.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Cool. Okay, let's hope this works. This is a new piece of software for me. So, if you log in to the website, you can see at the top of my slide, pollev.com/m.e.
Dan, could you possibly copy that and paste it on the chat? Is it copyable?
Sure. That's going to be difficult because I'm
That's fine.
in presentation mode. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll try to
do that.
No, yeah.
So if you log into that website, you should be able to see this question and obviously respond to that question. And the question is, it's almost like a bit of a quiz because I've given you the answer already. What percentage of small power in a typical UK office building is classed as wasted? And obviously, I've given you the answers, so you should be able to tell. But it would be good to perhaps get your opinions on this through some response and see what you guys think. So currently we've got an equal split of between less than 5%, which is interesting. A lot of people think it's less than 5%, so that's good. We'll have a good discussion about that. Even more. So let's have a good chat about why people think it's less than 5%. That would be a good starter. Cool. That's some good responses. So I'll keep those. These are all being saved, by the way, so we will use these as discussion material for later. So the next question I have for you: how aware are you of cleaner electricity periods in the UK specifically? Obviously, that's where we are right now. And this is a very simple open-ended question. Are you aware of it or not? And anything in the middle. And this is going to be really useful for us. We have a piece of technology where we're trying to tell people when electricity is cleaner and dirtier by integrating with the power stations, power generation on our network. And we're trying to help people make decisions based upon that data. So it seems like it's between not very and not really a lot. So that's good information. And it really leads on to our next question, which is, if you knew when the electricity was dirtier or cleaner, would you do something about it? As in, defer the use to a time when it was cleanest, or would you just not care basically and not do anything about it? But it's good that we've got 100% of people say that yes. I'll leave that open for just 10 seconds more. Cool. Okay, and this is our final, very final question. And it's to do with your personal view on your own carbon footprint at work, whether that be that you work from home or not. How often do you think about your personal carbon footprint at work? And that's, you know, everything from your commute to your electricity use and energy use within the building that you potentially work in. Again, this is really useful for us to help organizations we are working with use our system more effectively. So it's cool to see 86% of people say frequently, so that's really good and interesting, and 14% say rarely. Very cool. And I did lie, in fact, we've got one more question, and this is I threw this out there because it sounded really cool tool, but this is a question based a question and response based question, and the question is, how should employers help employees reduce their personal work based carbon footprint? And this is a word cloud response. So when you type in a very short response, we'll see if we can get some similar responses, and it should start popping up on our word cloud. So type in a response to this question that you think very cool. The first one is provide education. I will leave this one open as for the next hour or so. So don't feel like we have to put it all in at the moment, but this would be great if we could get a lot more responses and get a really cool, interesting word cloud. You can see it building up right now, and we'll see if we can get some good crowdsourced information. So this will stay open, but I think I will stop sharing my screen now and we can continue onwards.
Dan, thank you very much for that. I think that was great. Yeah, amazing presentation. Awesome to see what you are working on. And when I think of where our society is heading towards, we have Internet of Things, where increasingly, especially with the 5G coming on board now, we're going to be having millions and millions of devices all over the place who are communicating with each other. That's obviously going to mean a lot of electricity. We have renewable energy and trying to create more ways of getting more energy out of renewable sources. We have electric cars. We have battery storage systems for electricity in our homes and offices and establishments. So there is so much attention right now on energy, and energy accounts for about half of all the greenhouse emissions and the CO2 emissions that we're trying to tackle with. So this is such a fundamental problem to work on, and your solution is offering a lot of management and the ability to do something about it. So thank you very much for that. Now, one question that I had for you is, I think clearly you have a very strong vision of where you see things going in the next few years. If you had a crystal ball, what would you see the future to be?
It's a good question. I get asked that question a lot since I started working at Microsoft 10 years ago, and I always find it very difficult to say an answer to that, because I actually don't see the future being very, very different to the current. I'd love it to be actually based upon Star Trek, because that's usually my my go-to for everything that I think the future should be like. But I don't think that's going to happen soon. But I think the future really is about giving people the power to make their decisions to be more sustainable. And I think that, obviously includes an element of education to make sure people understand what's going on. But again, I think it's about providing data so people can make decisions. I'm quite worried about the level of software and tools out there that try to take the power of decisions away from people without first asking them if they want to make a decision based upon their own ideas. Good example is I've got a Nest thermostat in my house, which is really cool. It's actually very similar to our own product in that it, you know, tries to automate heating and cooling. The thing is, the way we operate our house at the moment is that we try and heat it as less as possible, and put on, you know, loads of clothes, and maybe we'll light a fire if it's really cold. And the Nest thermostat doesn't really get that people are trying to do their own bit to help the environment, and actually it tries to preempt when I want heat, and I've actually turned off a lot of that features because it doesn't really work for me. And it would be better if I could tell it, you know, don't do that, I'm doing this X, Y, and Z to try and help with sustainability. I actually want you as a Nest thermostat to focus on sustainability, not just my heat comfort, which, you know, is important obviously, but I don't need it as whoever developed Nest thinks that. So really, I think the answer is, I think in the future it should be based more upon people, giving people the ability to do things based upon what they want to do. And obviously that can go both ways in negative terms for the environment. But I have a positive view of people and the world, which is hard right now. But you know, I think with education and with as much information as possible, we can all help and move forwards with the world.
Excellent. Dan, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you with us. Really enjoyed your time. And yeah, stick around. Obviously, we're going to chat a little bit more in about some tips and tricks. So stick about. But thank you so very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks very much.
And with that, it's time to say hello to our next speaker, which is On. Hello, On.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. Thank you very well. And thank you very much for coming over today. Obviously, I'm going to pass over the mic in a second, and you can tell us a little bit more about all the good work that you've been doing. But I guess I just want to give a brief kind of intro, if you like. So you have created a reusable container system to elevate and improve our takeaway experience. We all have done takeaways, and we're very much looking forward to hearing more about that. But the other thing I want to mention on that is that your background is pretty much all about design of products around luxury and technology. And you've previously worked with people like Barclays and Harrods and Karen Millen and Ted Baker and Topshop and Fatface and Dune and the White Company and Ocado. I mean, these are really, really strong high street names out there. And I think a couple of thoughts coming to mind. The first one is, well, you know something about design. So really looking forward to see how we can elevate our takeaway experience. But it also shows that you have a very creative vision about what could be in future. And we're really looking forward to having you share this with us. The other thing that it shows is that you've got a lot of experience with retail brands, which is all about high commercial understanding and understanding the latest trends and developments with consumer preferences. So very excited space, and really looking forward to seeing what you have been working on.
Thank you. Again, another super great introduction. My name is Oanh, and I'm right at the beginning, I'm an entrepreneur of a circular economy startup of Modimade. So I'll start sharing my screen now. So we're also known as a donut economy because our business model is based around a closed loop. And our objective is to eliminate single-use food packaging. And our company will produce these metal food containers, and we will distribute it, sanitize the containers where food vendors can hire our containers on a subscription. And this infrastructure will allow food vendors to offer reusable food containers to their customers instead of just using single-use disposables. So, for example, think of the glass milk bottle service, and more currently known Loop, who is offering this service to Tesco's, which is really exciting. And we hope to collaborate with food vendors, corporations, events, festivals, to help restaurants achieve their sustainable goals. And hopefully this movement will help build a food-loving community at the same time, but without the waste. we see ourselves as a facilitator because we want to give people the choice to consume consciously and build awareness around food waste packaging. More importantly, we want to make it convenient and affordable so that people can choose to reuse when they can. And we believe that this can be achieved by using a deposit return scheme, so where customers receive their deposit for returning the container back. We'll be able to achieve our service at scale by collaborating with places like mainly takeaways, corporates, universities, and basically anywhere where there is food served to go. We want to design out waste and pollution as much as possible by keeping our products in use, and also looking at the whole picture so that we take out the minimum amount of resources out and put back what we've put in. So we can start by choosing to keep our supply chain local to reduce our impact. So in terms of our product, it consists of a locally manufactured container, and then we've got the service side, which will allow the food vendors to do their job and hire our containers on a subscription. And then throughout the supply chain, the customers who want to eat out, they can opt in to use our containers by paying this deposit. When they return it, the deposit is refundable back to them. They can return their container to any participating store, takeaway, campus, or wherever there is a drop-off bin. And then we will collect these used containers, sanitize it, and then ready to redistribute it again so that when you're ready for your next takeaway, you'll have a reusable container to use. So this model will be catered for on the go and to the home delivery. In terms of incentives throughout the whole supply chain, restaurants can show their support for the elimination of single use, whilst at the same time build customer loyalty because you've got the customers returning as well. So it kind of creates a kind of high traffic area for you. In terms of customers, you can choose to gain incentives and know that you're not leaking harmful toxins from plastics into your own food. There are variations of the reuse model in the food sector already that are working at scale, and there's quite a lot of models in the beverage waste stream at the moment. In terms of the most popular single-use containers, they include polypropylene and plant-based materials, but there's also a growing concern over the health impacts caused by the leakage of harmful chemicals from plastics. So, for example, virtually all fiber bowls have been treated with PFAS, which is a forever chemical. And this doesn't break down into the environment as much because it's more likely to contaminate compost than to increase the soil health. It interferes with the reproductive and immune system, and it also promotes the development of certain cancers like kidney cancer, for example. And the end-of-life recycled treatment for polypropylene is only at 11%. So in short, very few single-use plastics are recycled. And using a more natural resource like bamboo would only shift the pressure on the type of resource. Compostable packaging is popular among food vendors as there's a great interest in using a sustainable alternative. And customers love this idea, but in practice, compostables are rarely composted because we just lack the infrastructure to collect and process them. So composting is one solution, but is not the best solution at the moment. Reuse is better in practice because it reduces the health impacts from virgin materials and emissions from incineration. So based on our research, stainless steel metal has proven to be the best for reuse. So we're currently designing an ideal food container that is suitable for this market. So as we mentioned, I'm currently in research and design, which for me is the most exciting part because I love reaching out to people and really understanding what people need in terms of the product itself, the container, and also the system in order to help them live a better life. So I've teamed up with researchers at the Sussex Innovation Centre, and they are helping me to really understand the system, the customer profile, and really kind of try to find a place in the market where it can be kind of easy for everyone in the supply chain to use, rather than changing up the whole system. So I think this is a really exciting time, because there are a lot of circular economy businesses out there that are kind of popping up, and it's really interesting to hear Dan's model as well. It's quite interesting, because in terms of, you know, imagine, you know, working in an office and having Dan's model to help measure your energy, and then also a reusable takeaway service as well. So it's quite nice to kind of have these models in place in order for us to kind of, you know, help us live better, and help, you know, the environment live better as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so very much for your presentation. Obviously, as we just mentioned before with Dan's survey, we saw that about 90% of us are actually quite conscious of the environment. So this is a great way of finding ways to avoid degrading the environment any further. Now, in terms of where you are in your journey, you mentioned that you're doing a bit of exploration and research to understand exactly how to position yourself. So is there anything that we could be helping you with right now for your next step?
Yeah, so currently I'm designing the products. So I've been looking at market research, competitor analysis. But I think more importantly, it would be really good if you can support me by even encouraging your local takeaway to consider using reusables and just ditch any disposables that they might have. Because I'm based in Brighton, it might even be better for me, like if you encourage your favorite restaurant in Brighton and let them know that you want to use a reusable option, because for a model like this to work, you know, you kind of need influence from the top down and the bottom up as well. So, you know, so that they can flow better and kind of make this work. And then also, you know, whenever you're eating a delicious takeaway, it'd be nice to share your experience with me. I've got a Facebook at Modimade UK, and it'd be nice to kind of follow my development on there, and also share your experience. Maybe take a picture of your food, maybe before you eat it, and just like comment on the things that you liked about it, the things that you didn't like about your takeaway experience. And then finally, the most complex part of building this model is kind of trying to create the circular economy supply chain, which is quite difficult, because also we're trying to strive to become a B Corp as well. So that's going to be quite hard. So it'd be nice to know if anyone on here has had experience in kind of developing such a supply chain, because it would be nice to kind of learn from you guys as well.
Fabulous. Oh, thank you so very much for that. And I think what might be worth doing is if you could put on the chat the address for the Facebook, so that everybody who is listening up can join in. And first of all, make sure that anyone who is interested from a restaurant side to contact you, they know where to contact, and also they know where to post all those wonderful photos.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
And is there anything that from our side as kind of participants can do to help your journey? Are there any questions that you might like to answer with us?
Yeah, so I'd like to do a poll actually. I don't know what you want to put it on, Anastasio, but so in terms of the customer side, I would like to know, once you receive a metal food container, you've eaten it and you'd like to return it, at the initial stage when you're at the takeaway and ordering your food, it's kind of interesting to know how much are you willing to pay for a container which you'd be reimbursed once you return it again. So I've got a multiple choice, if you wouldn't mind going on.
So I've
Mentally.
pasted the, if you look on your chat box, you should be able to find the link for it. And then if you could just grab the link, go to a website, there you go, the votes have started coming in, and just cast your vote on that. That would be much appreciated. And we can see hopefully
Yeah.
the votes on the screen as they're coming through.
Yeah, thank you. This is really important for us because we want to kind of know how much we should charge for this container, just to know that we will get this container back. Hopefully, you know, this whole system, it won't actually cost the customer any money. It's just money circulating throughout the system. So once you've used our model, you can return the container and you will receive your money back already. And hopefully this would be more of a subscription for the food vendors, so they'd pay for a subscription to use our containers at a competitive rate to using a single-use disposable.
Excellent.
Thank
And
you.
whilst the votes are coming through, and there is quite a bit of variation over there, so thank you very much for the feedback, everyone, because it looks like that's going to be a very interesting research. So yeah, so you know, thank you very much for all of that one, and I think it's a very exciting journey. The reusable containers is something that is very good and very near and dear to me as well, and very much looking forward to seeing all the developments on that, and looking forward the next time we go out to the takeaway and we get a delicious bite, we get to see that something that makes us smile about the environment.
Yeah, hopefully that will be the future. It's just waiting to happen. You know, it's already launched in a few other countries in the States and Switzerland, and it's proving to work in their cities. So it's just time really until it comes to our end.
Excellent, and that's what that is with you know, with these kind of discussions. It's a little bit about awareness about what we could all be doing. I mean, the systems and the solutions exist; they're out there. It's a question of can we adopt them enough and quickly enough to make the difference. And speaking of adoptions and speaking of ideas, maybe that's a good time to switch over to our tips and tricks for the week. So this is the time where we think about the different ways that we could be doing things to help out on our side on a day-to-day basis. So who would like to go next? Did you have any tips and tricks for us that you could share?
Yeah, well, whenever I go out, I always pack a bottle, a drinking bottle, which, you know, for me, well, at least in my network, it seems like that's beginning to become quite normal now. So also, whenever you're purchasing an item, when you're out and about, maybe tell the shop that you don't need a plastic bag because you've already got one. I guess the main thing is, you know, if you can, try to give yourself a few minutes before you go out to prepare and plan ahead, ready for these situations, so that you don't have to resort to using a disposable, and you know, you've got your own to use.
Excellent, thank you. Dan, anything from your side?
Yeah, I guess I've got one tip, which obviously some people might already know, but I think making sure that you use 100% renewable electricity wherever you have the control to do so is almost a no-brainer. It can seem, in fact, I've spoken to a few of my friends who haven't got this because, you know, it costs maybe £1 more per month or something, and it's actually an incredibly cheap way to, I think, improve sustainability for our country generally. So I'd advise that as one good, easy way to go. And I think probably another, I wanted to share perhaps an ethos of our company, which is always about looking to the future in terms of improving environmental sustainability. And as a company, we're not ashamed to be part of the technology world, part of the energy consuming world, part of the creating of devices world. We don't think that that should stop, but you know, we can also see there's incredibly bad things with that, and we want to make that as transparent as possible and do something about it as we go forward. You know, technology's cool and the world is a great place to be, and we can take it all forwards and be sustainable at the same time. So it's about looking forwards, I think, and moving there.
Excellent. I had a couple of things from my side. The first one was the old, using a bar of soap instead of a bottle of soap. I was a bit skeptical about that, and I tried it, and I was quite surprised how much kind of soap lather it creates with a bar of soap. So the old traditional bar of soap actually does a very good thing. It lasts forever, and it hasn't got any plastic on it. So that's quite an interesting piece. And the other one that I want to mention is a photo that I saw on Facebook, and I thought it was tremendous. And it was a photo of a pub in the coast, very simply saying that free coffee for every bucket of litter. We have buckets available at the back. I mean, what a strong, amazing message that is. The restaurant was saying at the same time that take a bucket from the back, go out to the coast, fill it up with litter. We have litter everywhere. It's grinding up our beauty spot. It's putting off the tourists. Do your bit and you can have a free coffee. Everybody's happy. So I thought, what a strong, amazing message. And that's something that everybody could be doing. If you have a restaurant, or even if you're in the middle of the city, maybe that's something to help the city go clean. Or if you're in a place of natural beauty, it doesn't have to be the coast. It could be a forest. It could be a village. It could be anywhere. What a strong, amazing idea with a free cup of coffee. Here is a bucket. Help us out. Let's make this place look good. So that was my tip and trick. So I guess that's the end of the official part of the webinar. So let me just cover a couple of closing remarks. First of all, thank you very much for our participants for coming on this webinar. It's been fabulous having you. Thank you very much. We certainly enjoyed it. The second one is, don't forget to copy the link for the Slack channel so that you can follow up on any discussions and any networking on that. It's on the very, very top of the chat channel. The second one is that we also have a very quick 1-minute feedback. You don't have to do it now, but if you could just, I'm going to paste it on the chat channel. There you go. So that if you could just copy the link and give us a little bit of a feedback, that would be very much appreciated. It can only take a few seconds. Then, for those of you choosing to stay for the networking part, please stay online. Next time, we have some exciting speakers, one of which is a company offering a closed loop recycling for PPE masks. We're all using them nowadays. Hopefully, most of us are using the reusable ones. But for the ones that are working in the situations that they are not able to use reusable and they have to use single-use ones, for example, in hospitals, then that could be a great, great thing. Another thing is, if anyone is interested to sponsor this webinar in future, then please talk to us about sponsorship opportunities. And with that in mind, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you so much. Have a great day.